Good evening, family. Good evening. It's Destrian here. Welcome to another edition of what we call Motivational Mondays. It's my pleasure to welcome you all to the call tonight. I really hope that last week we found value in the information shared, and we certainly hope that this week is no different. I got a phone call earlier in the week from Cousin Ed, who introduced me to who I feel like you guys are going to agree with me, a phenomenal person, presenter, leader, pillar of the community, and the list goes on and on. By way of Cousin Ed, he did facilitate a conversation with her and I. I was very excited and happy to find out that she's a fellow Southerner. She has roots from the great state of Alabama as well. She has gone on to do so many wonderful things in her career, and she is still thriving. She's still growing. She's still learning, and she's going to spend some time with us tonight. We're going to hear a little bit about her story, the many years of senior leadership that she's had, the friendship that she has with Cousin Ed. But as we think and we look back, and we talked about it last week, the premise of our Empower Her network, right? The fact that we have so many great female leaders on this call. When I met her, she reminded me so much of so many of you. And I hope that you can draw strength from the story that she will share. And gentlemen, I hope that we can sit back and be amazed by another dynamic young lady who is going to, I think, knock our socks off. With that, I want to yield the floor to Cousin Ed. But before I do that, just a few housekeeping items. I definitely want to be respectful of the time for our guest and the time that she's taken to give to us. So, make her feel the love. We're an engaged group. We're an excited group. We're also a very respectful group. So if you have questions, please raise your hand in the chat. Please be acknowledged. Again, we want to make sure this is valuable for everyone. Because then I'm going to yield the floor to you to let you introduce Miss English tonight.
I appreciate that. Let me first appreciate you and the rest of the leadership of Global Effects. Yourself, Donnie, and James, y'all definitely have set the bar high, and I'm just trying to follow in your footsteps. So with that being said, everybody, hopefully y'all enjoyed Motivational Monday last week. It was dynamic. And Destrian kicked it off with somebody who, I've been planning stuff all week long, just writing down my time and trying to stay up on being more organized and being more efficient with my time. And in doing that, I was thinking about some of the people that I knew in my circle that may benefit the community, that actually benefit me. So I reached out to a good friend of mine. She's like a sister. She's like a best friend. She's that and a whole lot more. And asked her would she come out and speak to us. So he gave you a little history behind who she is, but I just want to give you a little bit more. Her name is Felicia English. She is the COO, so Chief Operation Officer, and the Chief Diversity Officer for FICA, and she is also the Global Diversity Project Manager for Facebook. Now, I did say that right, Facebook, the Facebook. She's the global. She's not local. She's not statewide. She's not regional. She's global. And it hit home with us being Global FX. She is the global diversity project manager and also the recruiting project manager. So for her to be a friend of mine, I felt that I wouldn't keep her to myself. I wanted to bring her to the community and give her a chance to talk about some of the things that she has come across over her years of being in corporate America and how she made it to where she is today. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Felicia English. Felicia, are you with us?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Good evening. I'm so happy to be here for Motivational Mondays. I was honored to be asked to come here and speak. And since this is a fireside chat, I decided to be casual so that you would feel comfortable asking questions. Know that any questions that you ask are not off limits. And so I just wanted to have Ed here us through and guide us through. And I have some things to share at the end of the conversation. So again, feel comfortable, sit back. I hope that this would be as enjoyable for you as it is for me. And definitely it will be informational. So Ed, take us away.
All right. So Family. Like Destrian said, please, if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat. But I'm gonna try to lead part of this. And Destrian, I know you, bro. Yeah, we had a great conversation. We stayed on the phone for like 3 hours, just kicking it, learning each other. And they are from the same place. How small is the world that they're from the same place? So it's just a universe. The universe works in mysterious ways, but connects us all together. So I'll tell you a little history about me and I call her Fee, but I'm gonna be professional.
Nope.
Felicia.
No. B, there's no difference.
Okay, so me and Fee. For those of you who wondered how did I get the name Cousin Ed, a lot of people ask me on the side, am I related to Donnie? Am I related to James? Am I related to Destrian? That's why they call me cousin. No, I did a podcast for many years, and Felicia was gracious enough to host the podcast for us. We went to her house and we did a podcast there for years, and I got to know her very well. And during this time, to know where she came from, and you know, I mentioned she's from Selma, Alabama, right? And to be from the military, to travel the world, and to work for some of the Fortune, I can say 500 companies, Fortune 100 companies, and to grow in her leadership. Can you tell us a little bit about your past and how you made it through all that?
Yes. So I started off just in, as you said, in Alabama. My family roots are from Selma, but I grew up in Mobile, Alabama. My parents had me when they were in college, but they stayed very engaged in my life. So that's a lot of foundation there, support, mentorships. My father lived in one city, my mom lived in the other by way of college. And so, but I saw him very often. My family was very involved on the political scene, fighting for human rights, fighting for social justice. So at an early age, I learned the value of helping your community, helping others, and giving back when you can. So here I am. So my journey was supposed to be a straight and narrow. I had many scholarships when I graduated from. I wanted to run track, so I chose Auburn, Alabama. I turned down the scholarships that I had to Harvard time and other places, and it was not because I wanted to go, didn't want to go. I didn't want my mom to have to worry about me. Meaning, again, they both graduated from college, they made it through, they instilled all the values. My mom didn't internships. She stayed home to spend time with me and it off. I feel like if I'm just half the person or half the parent that I am to my daughter, that she was to me, that me, my daughter, and the rest of the world would be okay. So I started off on this straight and narrow path. I ran track at Auburn. I also majored in electrical engineering. And then I decided, you know what, this scholarship pays for a lot of things, but it doesn't pay for toiletries. And, at the time, the NCAA had a strict rule against paying athletes, and I was a student athlete. So I kind of felt like, you know what, I spend 40 hours a week at least and jumping and preparing for meets, and at the time we could not be paid. So I said, let me do the reserves. They had a program called the delayed entry program where you were supposed to basic training one summer, and then the following summer after your sophomore year or whatever the year was, you would then go to advanced training. So I started down that path and everything went well. At the time, they did not have a lot of female engineering at all. And so I said, by that time I had changed my mind too. And the guy said, well, you can't get out. You've already been sworn in. Let me just do something. Let me help you here, because I needed his guidance. And so that's the first thing I want to talk about is mentorship and trust. So I had to trust someone who didn't know me. I didn't know them. As far as I'm concerned, they were just concerned with numbers. But this guy took the additional time with me to sit down and say, hey, well, you scored high enough on your test. So there are many other options that you have. And so I said, okay, but I want to do something in engineering. He said, well, what do you like? I said, solving problems, helping people. He said, well, pick something in the medical field. And I kind of looked at him with my head turned to the side and I said, medical? He said, yeah, you can work in the lab. And I said, okay, well, how would that benefit me? He said, well, you'll be writing standard operating procedures. Those things are transferable to any skill. And oh, by the way, anything that you do in the medical field will be transferable, meaning that I can take those courses that I was going to learn, all of the hands-on experience, translate that into what became a 2-year degree. I wasn't trying to achieve the degree. I was literally trying to go back to Auburn, but at the time, Auburn was on the quarter system, and I came back from training during April. And so by that time, the quarter had already started. And so I decided, you know what? I'm going to go to one of the local hospitals. Let me test this theory. So I had to. Sure enough, when I enrolled in school, I want to say they gave me something like 80 some credit hours, as well as I was able to get a job working in the local hospital. So here I was, 18, 19 at the time, working full time as a medical technologist, and having that military experience behind me really propelled me to do well in this role. And so that was the first pivot. So we're going to talk about trust, mentorship, and pivoting. So I had to pivot and think about what's next. And so while waiting to go back to Auburn University, I decided to do exactly what he said. As I mentioned, they gave me like 85 credit hours. And so that made me have 1 quarter before I finished college at the 2-year degree level. And so I graduated as their valedictorian, and off I went waiting for Carnegie Mellon, which is a very prestigious computer science school, to admit me for the fall. They had admitted me, said, our scholarships have already been dispersed, but if you come in the fall I think it was by the spring quarter, then, we would be reevaluating the monies that we would have for the next year. So I'm working. I worked the 11 to 7 shift because I wanted to have fun out during the day. I had a boyfriend and, wanted to hang out. And so I worked at 11 for about 6 months. And in came the president of a college, another local college in my hometown, who was affiliated with Alabama State. And so she said, hey, what are you doing with that brain of yours? Why are you working? So I told her what I had done in between. And she said, come see me tomorrow. So again, I'm thinking, I want to go hang out with my boyfriend. I got to come see you. But, nonetheless, I did. So again, someone else extending their hand, mentoring me, and then, needing to have a conversation. So again, trust. So she said, hey, I know you told me about Carnegie Mellon, but HBCU, Alabama State is an HBCU, and we need people like you. We need our future leaders. And so I'm thinking, Carnegie Mellon, yeah, that's out of town, partial scholarship, Alabama State, full ride, in state, and it comes. So I had dollars. So I went and talked to her. They granted me the scholarship, and I didn't have a car. We didn't grow up with a car. So I'm thinking, how am I going to get to school? So again, I had to trust. So Dr. Steptoe said, I'm gonna send someone to pick you up if you can't find anyone to get you to school. And I said, okay. So I had a good friend of mine who had a car. And he said, I'll take you. I said, okay. So packed up all of the things, start trekking down the highway, and the car broke down. And I was thinking, oh my goodness, like how many obstacles or things am I going to have to jump through? Like I'm set to go. Why this? So along came a guy, and these days you have to be careful, but back then you really did have people that and that were not out to hurt you. So again, trust comes into play. So literally, he had this little pickup truck, was very distraught because he had lost his wallet. He was on his way to a funeral for one of his family members who had passed away. And I said, man, I looked at Tony and I said, I don't know about this. And he said, I tell you what, I'm going to get in the car. I'm going to get in the truck. I'll get in the front. You get in the back cab. He told the guy, look, I got a hammer. I don't know you. You're trying to help us, but, I still have to be cautious. He said, okay. So everything that I had packed in the car fit very nicely into his truck. We had no more space. It was like the perfect fit. So I arrived at Alabama State, and then in exchange, we gave him money so he could continue on to the funeral. And that's how I ended up at Alabama State. So now I'm saying, I'm here, I'm ready to run track again. My whole thing was running track and school. So Dr. Steptoe said, no, I want you to concentrate this first year just on your studies. Let's get you acclimated. Let's get you into your computer science program, because they didn't have electrical engineering. And off I went. So again, everything is going well. I'm thinking, yes, I'm going to graduate in 2 years. I only have 2 years left. And so he said, Felicia, don't come to my office anymore if you don't go and apply for an internship, because we had that conversation before. And I said, I don't want to do an internship. I wanted to go to Auburn. I started there. I ended up going in the military. It took me down a path that I didn't want to go down, but I can't complain about it. I've learned a valuable skill. I've been able to secure employment to help my family. And I said, I just want to graduate. He said, like I said, don't come back until you have applied for at least 3 internships. So he gave me a magazine, and they had a list of different for African Americans. So I started applying, and sure enough, I got a call back from now AT&T. It was Lucent Technology. It was AT&T Bell Labs at the time, and it was their research facility and he said, oh, by the way, we're going to pay you $535 a week. That was a lot of money at that time, and a lot of money for a college student. I was thinking, absolutely. So I continued on that journey, and I did 3 internships with them. And then when they switched over and became Lucent Technologies, I continued on. And then I was like, well, you know what? This has worked out for me. I didn't have to work while I was in school. I didn't have to go into the hospital environment. I was able to just tutor kids on campus. So not only was I fulfilling my education, I was also, had money, and I was also helping others. And so again, it was everything that I thought that I was going to do didn't happen that way. And I pivoted every single time I had to. Now, when you're looking to go to get jobs and work, a lot at that time, they looked at HBCUs with the side eye. They were kind of like, well, they're good, but a C there, an A there is like a C at another school. Well, I had already been to a predominantly white school, so again, if I could function in one, I could function in the other. So I continued my trek at Alabama State, graduated from there, and lo and behold, the best thing that I could have ever done was those internships. Because when my resume sat side by side with someone, there were 2 differentiators: the military and the internships. And also, at that time, Alabama State was a little bit behind in what they were teaching from a computer science perspective. So I was able to learn what the industry was working on, or the tools that they were utilizing, and I was able to transform that into the role that I eventually got. And so off I go. My first job was at Boeing in Arizona. Didn't know anyone in Arizona except for a 3-year-old cousin of mine. And I got on the plane, got there, and I chose the job at Boeing not because it was the highest paying. It was the one that was going to make sure that I was all set so I could just focus on one area, and that was work. So Exxon said, hey, come on, we got Houston, but you'll have to pay for your relocation, and then we will reimburse you. I'm thinking, I just graduated from college. I don't even have a car, let alone pay for relocation. But Boeing said, come, all you need to do is to show your offer letter. We have apartments that are set up that you can get on our merit and your offer letter. So had to trust the process. I'm all the way out in Arizona. Sure enough, got off the plane, showed my offer letter, and I started my career. And oh, by the way, they threw in a Janet Jackson concert for me. So I was able to see the Velvet Rope tour with Janet Jackson in Arizona. So again, get there, everything's going well. And here comes this group of people. I was the only Black. I looked younger than I was at the time, but I worked with a lot of ex-pilots and a lot of ex-military. So they kind of took me under their wings and taught me everything that they knew. So it was kind of like having a fraternity or a sorority within work. So it seemed to not be an issue that I was Black and a woman. It was kind of like we bonded over something different, which was the military. And so I started my career there as a computer scientist. I did that for about 5 years, and here comes trust again. Boeing said, hey, we like to have an educated workforce. So if you go and get another degree, then we'll give you all of these stocks. I knew nothing about stocks at the time, but I was thinking, I know a little bit. I know enough to know that they can increase in value and set me up for life, or, put me in a good position. So off I go to the office, and I'm thinking, yes, I'm going to get a master's in software engineering. He goes, that's not what you need to do. He said, you need to go get your MBA. And I'm thinking, MBA? I don't like accounting and finance. I like physics and science and math. Why an MBA? He said, okay. He drew a pie for me. On one pie, he said, here are 9 jobs that you're going to do really well over in this technology pie. I said, okay. He said, over here with this MBA pie, those 9 jobs are now 1 slice. Now you have 8 other slices that you may be able to work in: process management, project management, commodity management. The list went on and on. So in other words, I had 9 jobs on one pie. I had 81 jobs on the other pie. And it was a no-brainer. And he said, and by the way, this is kind of where the industry is going. So trusted him. I pivoted. I did the MBA. And from there, I was able to be brought into the development program at United Technologies. Did really well there. I worked for 4 years. What was good about that program is that for 2 years, you couldn't be fired. That was always good. So for 2 years in Connecticut, I trekked through this program, and it was every 6 months you would rotate to a different area. And what they were doing was prepping you for the core functions that any company could use. So that kind of set me up for my career. And so for 20 years, I worked in business process management as a consultant, both internally and externally, traveling, solving problems for, at that time, Fortune 500 companies. Where I could draw my experience the most came from the military, because in the medical field, I was writing standard operating procedures. So just like in computer science, there's a logical progression of steps to get to a clean and complete program. There was a logical progression of steps to get to your end goal. And when I say business process management, I'm talking about how companies can run more efficiently, how you can, show them the way. And it's not a difficult task. We do it every day. A perfect example is if you need to go cut the grass, get the grass cut, you need to get your hair cut, you need to go and get gas and groceries, then what you do is you say, okay, what area of town do I need to drive to? What time do things close? What time frame have I been scheduled for appointment wise? So basically you line those things up and you come away with what's the most critical path or the fastest way that I can get all of these things accomplished. And oh, by the way, still have time to hang out at night. So when he explained it to me that way, I said, wow, you know what? We do that every day. And at the time, it wasn't really a thing. Now it is, because the industry has moved a lot towards servicing people, whether it's you trying to buy a phone, whether it's, you're utilizing Facebook or services. So it's now a service industry. And what do they need best? That is good business processes, meaning how do I, get more people in? How do I make this a platform where people want to buy my product? Whatever it is, we solve. So the good news is that while I said, I don't know about this thing, it allowed me to then put on my resume that since I was 19 years old, and I think I was 30, almost 30 at the time, now I was able to say for 11 years, I have worked in this sector. So I became someone who was a subject matter expert almost overnight. And all I had to do was kind of apply and pivot what I had done to another area. And so that kind of backed me into business process, into diversity. So working for that company, and the way that we rotated through that leadership development program, we looked at people-facing roles, we looked at process and project management, We looked at finance, and we just looked at like a shared service, something like benefits, HR benefits. And so they had these 4 pillars, and one of the pillars was people excellence. And so my boss came to me and said, Felicia, have you ever thought about working in a people facing role? I'm thinking, no, because engineering pays a lot of money. This is what my mind is telling me. And he said, well, with your MBA and pivoting to these other areas, trust me, you'll double your salary. I'm thinking, yeah, right. Absolutely is what happened, because they said, you have that technical acumen, you can do training, you understand how to translate what we're trying to do from a process perspective into technical terms. So now you're able to look at an app and tell us what we need. What do people need to make this app more effective? What do people need in general to make what we're trying to do technology-wise work? So again, trusting and pivoting, and those informal mentors are the people that got me to think outside of the box and pursue opportunities outside of the box. So in came the people facing role, and it was within a pillar called people. And we looked at things like, how do we as an employee become an employee of choice? How do we get diversity into play? How do we get women, men, veterans, people with disability into the company? And so by me working with business process, I was able to partner with different departments within the company. So I became versed in a lot of different areas, although I didn't have to be the expert in all. So usually I had a partner that I worked with. So I did that for 20 years. And within those 20 years, I started working in diversity because they needed to establish a diversity council. They needed to establish what we call employee resource groups. And those groups were groups that are people-led, employee-led, and they form around likenesses and differences. Good ways to make teams, good ways for people like you and I or African Americans to come into a company and say, you know what? I got questions that I want to ask in a safe space. Who do I go to ask those questions to? And a lot of that centered around these employee resource groups. So as I volunteered to help set up some of the technical forums around communications, when the opportunity came, I was asked to then move from the technology sector over to the diversity sector and become the diversity manager. Something that I was absolutely passionate about. I thought about my experience growing up with my family, fighting for human rights and social justices. My father working and walking right next to Dr. King as well as Jesse Jackson. And so these things came into play. I started thinking about, wow, Felicia, you're lucky. And you listen to people who were willing to extend a hand to you. You should turn around and do that as well. So it became my passion, and I landed in diversity. And so as I'm talking to and looking at, okay, where do I go next? What I'm going to pivot and do next. After all of the shootings and George Floyd, Facebook came to me and said, I bet people are knocking your doors down. You have business process and you've worked in diversity, and we want you to come here. We know that, you were a reference for someone that, came to our company 5 years ago, and you didn't take the role at that time because you didn't want to move. I had a young child and I just wanted to be with her. I had adopted her from birth. And so I wanted to spend that time with her as my mom had done with me. So he goes, well, guess what? We are trying something different. We know COVID has happened, and we see that we can function very effectively with people working from home. People seem to do more work, and we seem to get more out of people. Would you now come work if you were able to work at home? And I said, absolutely. So I started the job at Facebook, and I love it. What's good about it is that I get to utilize a tool that you and I use every day to then think of ways and strategies for how we can reach out to different communities, in particular underrepresented population, and get them to Facebook. Facebook is a company that does not require you to have a degree. So I want to start there. A lot of people think that you have to be this super, rocket scientist or this super user when it comes to computers and programming, but it's not. In fact, Mark Zuckerberg does not have a degree. And when he started this project, it was a passion project for him, just connecting people so he could know others, within the school that he attended. So this project became Facebook, and we grew from 1,600 to now 60,000 employees, and we're trying to grow more. So I'm a global leader there. I look at all of the regions and all of the countries that we have in the world. We service 3 billion people, and we look for ways to attract talent, unorthodox talent. And so I'm here not only to kind of tell you my story and talk about how pivoting helps. I want to also extend the opportunity for you guys to come in through our employee referral program. And the way that works is that you would go out, and I'll send this information to Cousin Ed as well. Go out to Facebook, take a look at some of those careers and opportunities that we have out there, and then send me the name of those roles that you're interested in, and I will put you through the employee referral program. Again, I am all about helping our community. Um, I was helped, I was mentored, and all you need sometimes is a way in. And this is absolutely a way in. I remember when I was offered the role, I wanted to go back and work in the employee resource group side, the community efforts. But then I was thinking, diversity, recruiting operations and program, what am I going to do with recruiting programs and operations? I've only had to hire people who work for me. And so I started thinking, I said, I got you, God. I see what you're doing. So I can do more in this space than I could what I was trying to pursue. So in this role, I still can bring every skill I've ever had. I understand the technical side. I've worked in business process, and what we're doing is putting strategies in place to bring people on board. And then also I get to help our community. And what Facebook does is they look at the current demographics and say, okay, we're predominantly white, we're predominantly Asian, we're predominantly male. So if we're not at a level field with having as many underrepresented talent, then we need to bring those people in and make that our focus. So we have two goals around 30 and 5 and 50 and 5. And that means that we want to have 50% of underrepresented population in 5 years, which would be 2025, because we've already started that. And they want to have 30% more leaders that are underrepresented, not just 30 more percent underrepresented, but also 30% more blacks. And so they have asked me, Felicia, hey, you know what? We've gone out there, we've gone to LinkedIn, to Indeed. We want to now look at your network. Who are you affiliated with? Those are the people that we want to bring in. So I'm here helping my community and offering and extending an opportunity for you guys to come in through our referral program at Facebook. Facebook pays at the high end of the chart. They also have so many benefits that you can just not imagine. For instance, working at home, you get $2,000 to set up your office. No one is tripping about where your $2,000 goes. It comes in your paycheck, tax, of course. But if you have an office set up, maybe there's something else that you want to do with it. They give you benefits from day one. They pay bonuses out twice a year, and they give you stock. Everybody knows Facebook stock is very, very, very valuable. So again, if you have kids that are under the age of 13, they give you a $3,000 stipend for after school programs or events that you would like them to be in. So anything that you have to do for your children that enables you to show up at work. And oh, by the way, you can show up as your authentic self. So even if you roll over and have hair rollers on the call, nobody cares. It is not a slogan. I know that there are other companies that say, come as you are. They are really serious about that. I mean, we're on calls sometimes with babies strapped to, the chest of moms and dads. We have dogs sitting on people's laps. Again, they don't care about that. What they're saying is whatever makes you productive, then that's what you do. And we want you to be here with us. So I work from home 100% of the time. If any of you in the Atlanta area, you'll know that traffic is horrible. I mean, you can drop a cup of ice on the freeway and the freeway is shut down for, 2 hours. So I'm here telling you my story, letting you know that you don't have to be from Stanford, from Berkeley, from Harvard to come work for Facebook or even to excel in what you do. All you have to do sometimes is trust, pivot, and then reach back out to those mentors or people that are trying to pave a path for you and trust that, hey, they know what they're talking about. And so I'm here to kind of share my story and also to motivate you and to also invite you to also come to Facebook. Ed, I know I talked for a long period of time, but I wanted to tell you my story, show you that this is a comfortable fireside chat. I want to come offering and bearing gifts because I am all about helping our community. And if there's anything that I can do, to do that. And this is something that I can do, I can influence, and I would like to extend those opportunities to you. So Ed, I'll pause there and
Listen,
take it from.
listen, listen. I'm over here with goosebumps, chill bumps, and everything else. Got tears in the corner of my eye, trying to hold them back. I, I I appreciate you, but just for the community itself, to be able to have a resource like this, I didn't expect all this, guys. We didn't talk about this. We talked about Felicia, and Destrian. We just had a conversation. We didn't talk about all this.
Yes,
So I appreciate that, Destrian. I'll let you step in right now because I'm I'm choked. I
Hey man,
appreciate it.
it is I knew this conversation would not need much from us when we hung up a few nights ago. But I am floored with the things that I've heard. I know that there are people on this call that might be thinking about a career change. They might
absolutely.
feel underappreciated where they are. And I
Absolutely.
think when we have representation in these types of spaces, it's important for us to take advantage, right? So I would personally challenge everyone on this call that has interest. If you need to brush up your resume, I'm here to help. Send it over to me. Let me take a look at it. I'll probably brush mine up too while I'm at it. But
Absolutely.
she says so many things that hit home for me. So I am one of the racial equity leaders at my organization, and we have a Black Employee Network group, as I shared with her, and just listening to some of the things that she said tonight and we talked about a few days ago. I don't think we really understand how underrepresented we still are in the corporate space. And there are a few of us who have made some strides in terms of positioning, but we need more. We need to have a bigger voice. We need to continue to create bigger platforms for each other. And so I really appreciate you extending the platform that you have to us. And in
Ab-
whatever way I can partner with you on the corporate front, I'm happy to do it, and personally as well. One of the things I wanted you to touch on a little bit, being from, for those of you that don't know, I am from Selma, Alabama, born and raised. And the things that she's talking about resonates with me because when you think about social justice, you think about civil rights, that's a small, mighty place, but it's
yes,
very, very humble beginnings. And so you talked a lot about the things that you had to overcome, and you talked about the mentorship, the being that willing to pivot and then listen. If you, we often ask, if you could give yourself, your current self, advice at 18, 21, what would that look like for you to the group, especially seeing all the things that you've seen at this point? And I'm understanding this small town where it is you come from. What could you have told yourself then to know that this world of opportunity exists and it was possible? What would you say?
I would have said, Felicia, listen earlier. And the reason why I say that is because we didn't have all of the resources, the internet, and the things we have today. And I don't want to paint the picture like I'm 60 years old or anything, but we didn't have all of those resources that we have today. And I remember sometimes making choices based on the limited information that I did have. I started to listen as people were able to provide advice to me that I was new with. But the one thing that I would say, and I use to this day, is information comes from everywhere, and it comes in all forms. It could be the bum off the street, it could be the lady next door, but everyone that you think a mentor because they looked a certain way, looked the part, or they worked in a certain environment, doesn't mean that that's the mentor for you. The mentor that you need is that person that is going to take time, listen to what you are trying to do, and is not afraid to step in and say, sounds good, but I see a longer term vision for you. And that is what was brought to me, longer term visions than I could see for myself. And it came from the purview of an educator in one. The guy that worked in our education coordination department at Boeing was an hourly employee. He didn't have a big title or anything. But, again, him saying, this is where the industry is going. He was Latino. He said, this is where the industry is going. There's only four of us, and I want us to get as far as we can so that we can then turn around and do that I'm trying to say. So I'd say that l- advice, information, motivation, and in all forms. Listen, sometimes it may not be to get you where you are or where you want to go immediately. You may can't see that end game, but sometimes it also provides the platform for allowing you to not trip up along the way. So sometimes it's not about getting to where you are right away. It is avoiding those pitfalls
Yeah.
or avoiding that stagnation that you
Yeah.
may had you not chosen the path that they had laid out for you. So sometimes people know just a little bit more than you do, and that's enough to make a difference.
A big difference. We talk about a 1% course correction with the group. We talk about it being the difference between the Titanic missing that iceberg and going on about his business and completely sinking. Another thing I know you hear said all the time that when people tell me, well, you don't have experience in that, or you don't have enough experience, I let them know quickly, I don't want to always be the one with the experience. I would rather learn from your experience.
Right.
I don't Experience is a very expensive teacher, sometimes the most expensive one. And so I want to learn from the experiences of others. And it sounds like you've taken that and you've made a career out of it, and it served you very well. So I hope that that resonates with the group.
And
I don't want to dominate
let me
this
look.
time. I see a lot of people out there have put some comments out, because Ned, you can take it and go ahead. But if the group has any questions, please raise your hands. We can acknowledge you.
I'll let you get the comments in 1 second, but I wanted to see for Felicia. I had somebody hit me with this. How does it feel? Is it ever overwhelming to be that person that everybody comes to ask the question of diversity?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've worked at some really good companies even before this, and it was overwhelming at times because they were just coming to me over and over and over again. But what it took was redefining diversity and focusing on inclusion. So diversity, it looks at the differences. Doesn't have to be negative, but diversity look at differences. Inclusion looks at both similarities and differences, which brings another conversation to the fold. So when I say inclusiveness and looking at your similarities and different, now you get to redefine what people think of diversity, because a lot of people are thinking, oh, EEOC, they're going to take my job, or affirmative action. But if you talk of inclusion, you talk about letting people have a voice at the table and let them come as they are and you meet them where they are. So then that took the pressure off me and expanded it to everyone sitting at the table, because now inclusion includes not just, your skin, your ethnicity, your nationality. Now we're looking at your mind, how you think, personal preferences, things that you've chosen in your background, because people come from different places, have different cultures. All of those things are now in the realm of inclusion, the way that you process. Alabama versus Auburn. That's diverse and inclusive. Georgia Tech versus Georgia, diverse and inclusive. So it allows everyone to have a seat at the table, and it's great building. So when they started shifting towards inclusiveness and just away from, I mean, not away, but just inclusiveness and not just diversity, then it took the pressure off me because everyone else got a chance to, speak at the table. And that could be about anything down to, now I understand Janet a little bit better because this is her religion. Or, these are the things that she celebrates because these things are more important to her. And so if you work at a company that are trying to service, companies that are trying to service individuals and trying to figure out, well, how do we get more people to come use our products? How do we come get more people to buy into what we have? Now you're not afraid to say, I lack veterans. Go find a veterans focus group or a business network or an employee resource group to talk to. Now they listen to groups of people for business insight. I recall very vividly working at one point for Cox Communications here in Atlanta, and they wanted to put together, it's just cable, right? And they wanted to put together a channel lineup for two sets of people, veterans, and then they were looking at kids. So here they were in this little room with 5 people, no women, no one from our women resource group. The reason why that was important is we had probably 30,000 women who had children. So my comment to them was, we have a women's network group. There's 3,000 women in this group. Go talk to them. And so as we started to extend beyond, just those ethnicities or what people thought would be working a silo, we began to figure out how then, go out and influence and bring clients back. Working in business process, I turned that into a solution. So now I want you to go, if you're trying to put together a solution for X amount of people or X group of people, go talk to people in those groups. Even if we don't have a network group, go to a focus group and you will get more insights from those people and how to penetrate their network. And so inclusiveness and that whole mantra around inclusion and equity is what took the pressure off just me. Now I have a team to work with, and then we can work collectively together on intersectionality opportunities. Because, for instance, if we're saying, what will our Black group do when we marry them with a topic such as let's say health, then we look at those things, or we come up with programming around wellness programs around just things that affect us as a community. When we marry that same topic with Asians, that's a different, view. When we marry that with moms or people that work from home, that's a different view. So bringing that conversation around inclusion is what helped take the pressure off me just being the only one. But I was the only one for a long time, and I embraced that. But as people started widening their views, like Facebook is, that's what they want to bring. We, as underrepresented people, are very valuable to Facebook. And again, you don't need a degree. You just need to bring your experience. They like people that take risks. They like resilience. And so again, you could have taken a course off of Coursera or Google courses, something for 6 months and come work at Facebook doing what you do. So they just want you to come with your differences. I'm not your differences, but with your different way of thinking and bring that to the table. And if you have, any ideas that you've ever thought of, like, you know what, it would be a good idea if I did X, that's what we want. So that conversation around inclusiveness took the pressure off just, one or two of us that were underrepresented at the company. Not Facebook, but other companies.
Got you. Destin, you want to hit some of the questions in the chat, and people, please, you can raise your hand, or like we do, fam. Come off from mute. You can talk to Felicia. Like she said, she's here
Yeah,
for you.
that's why I put this on so we could chill out. I didn't want this to be uncomfortable because Cousin Ed will tell you, we did podcasts at my house, but we also had fun. So I go kick it too. But cross, may, even sometimes I'm at the bar, I'll see someone and, may overhear a conversation and I'll approach them. Hey, have you ever thought about an opportunity at Facebook? I mean, I literally do that no matter where I am. I can be at church. I can
You
be.
sound you sound like one of our other leaders, Donnie. Well, hold on before we get that, Donnie and James. I'll be remiss if I don't have y'all come off of mute and at least have a chance to speak to her if you like. And if not, anybody else, please come off mute and speak to Felicia.
Hi, Felicia. This is Alicia. First of all, I am beyond inspired, to say the least. Very, very beautiful story. I was actually amazed because we had some of the same similarities
Awesome.
in background. And like, I lived in Arizona just like you. I'm a part of some ERGs, like you mentioned, MBA, Informal Mentors. I had a lot of similarities. However, what advice can you give those who feel stagnant in their careers? I know you talked about, pivoting, but sometimes that can be a little challenging at times. So I guess, again, overall, like, my question is, how often should a person stay in their role before being promoted, or knowing that you are just stagnant and saying, okay, it's time to seek other opportunities?
Got it. So, unlike our parents, this climate does not call for you to be in a role for 20 years. In fact, you can have gaps on your resume nowadays. That's one of the things that I do like, growing up as a Gen X and then being able to work in a millennial plus environment. Right now, the average time HR looks for anyone to stay in a role is 3 years. The reason that that is the case is because millennials have said, I don't want to work for you for 10 years, because if I stay in a role for 10 years or even 5 years doing the same thing, then I'm behind. I'm behind time, because things move so fast. And as you know, a lot of things are tied, well, most things are tied to like technology and service roles. And as things change, people need to change and adapt to those new ways of doing things. So now the expectation is not for you to stay in a role that long, because people feel like, hey, I will get behind. So I would say this is a great time. COVID was very unfortunate for a lot of us, but it has opened companies' eyes to different ways of work. And a lot of people have just said, you know what, my life is more valuable. I'm not going back in the office. What do I know how to do? So a lot of people are looking within themselves to say, what type of entrepreneurial activities can I do, or what are things that I'm passionate about? So it's a very good time right now for us to pivot and make those changes. One, the expectation is not that you work for forever, and sometimes it takes you stepping out to get that promotion that you want. So if you are feeling stagnant, you're feeling that you don't have the opportunity to maximize what you can do, there is a company and or a role out there that wants that passion from you. So if you're passionate about something, it exudes and it will ooze out of you, especially if that conversation came up. I also talk about how, if you've done any type of volunteer activities and things when you're interviewing with, your new role, a lot of times, the interviewer will try to drive you back. Well, what was your main role? Like, what was your main thing? Well, I tell people always say this. Look, for high potentials, whether you were or not, but for high potentials, we were all given stretch goals. The stretch goal that I was given was this area, right? And let's say this is your passion area. And maybe you did, I don't know, you've only done 5 hours of work, but you understand it thoroughly. Then you can say, you know what? I was given a stretch assignment, because they're going to hear a couple of things: high potential, stretch assignments. And now that is the door for you to walk through and talk about that thing that you are passionate about. And I promise you, it will come through. And if you're talking about something that you're passionate about, you can talk for hours. So there's your interview. Now you've impressed them and you wowed them, and that passion is seen. So I say, don't stay in a role too long. If it's stagnant, pivot. It's especially easy if you're already employed to go look for something else. Now, right now there's a shortage of people working with, with the $1,400 that they've given, and now some of the additional nuances that they're providing around the child tax credit. A lot of people are saying, forget this, I'm going to do something different. And now with places with tools like Facebook, we have Facebook Live, we have Table Talks, there are Reels now, Instagram. A lot of people are getting rich just on hits. So if you got something funny, or you think of something that will catch people's attention, or tutorial, guess what? Film that, put it out there. Because if you get so many hits, then companies will start advertising on your pages, and you get paid for those advertisements, and that's endless. So you can never, go back and unlike the likes. So you're going to always have, that certain number of likes, and it can only increase from there. So I say, pivot. If there are things that you want to do differently, seek them out. If you're stagnant and you're bored, do something different. And if you're afraid to leave your role, hey, go take to social media and try to, do something that will differentiate yourself, or just get hits. To be honest, I mean, they pay a lot of money when it comes to advertising on sites.
Can I add to that or ask a question about that? So I know you're with Facebook, but do you have your own company?
I do.
Okay, that's that. I already know the answer. So I would also ask, even if you're in a position, would you say, if you are passionate about something, would you tell somebody to go ahead and start their own?
Absolutely. So the way I started my company, it's a family company, but well, my company didn't have a family company. So, kind of like you said, that was a role that I kind of stagnant. I felt like there were more creative solutions and ideas that I could bring to the table. Well, kind of an old stoicy kind of company, they paid well, but I was just like, oh, I gotta go to work. It just wasn't that funness that I had when I started there. And I realized that they just were not that creative company. They were all about, okay, let's just do this. It was a script. And so I started thinking, talking to my mentor. He said, Felicia, why don't you do this? He said, the same things that you're doing at work, you can do on your own. And because you have, seen different companies come in, consulting companies, they were paying like a company, Jennifer Brown, $40,000 rather, to come in and basically talk about how to set up a diversity program. I was getting paid a salary to do that, right? But they brought in, an expertise. And in talking to a person that they brought in, he said, Felicia, you can do this on your own. We can do this on our own. And I was thinking, well, how would I do that? I'm thinking, I got a guaranteed check over here. What about over here? He said, do it while you're still working. And even if not, and now I would just do it even if I'm not working. But he said, take those same strategies that you have, make them your own, put your own spin on them, and then go to LinkedIn and put, hey, for a fraction of a price, this is what you can get from me. So in essence, I'm offering the same things that Jennifer Brown is offering, but guess what? I'm not trying to hit that home run of $40,000, right? Even if you come in and offer half, that's cheaper, way cheaper than what companies are paying. So they can take a gamble, even if they're not sure, right? But I put a presentation together. I showed them what I would cover. I asked them, hey, are there things that you want me to include? And I got my first gig. Now, it wasn't for 20 grand, but it was for 10 grand. And I started thinking, this is a couple of paychecks, 10 grand. Okay. And what I did was I said, I don't want, I asked them for a fee, but I asked them for add-on services as well. So instead of the 20,000 that I know I could have gotten, they gave me 10,000, and then I got 5 more gigs. And then those people started saying, hey, I got another company that can afford the 10,000, much cheaper than 40,000. So by word of mouth, after the delivery, they then plugged me in to other opportunities. So I would say absolutely go for it. With the family company, which is called FICA, the FICA taxes that they take out of our paychecks. My father on the side, you see, we're a family of doing things on the side. My dad worked in computer science. He also worked at Redstone Arsenal, which is the Army base, doing procurement for years. And on the side, he was selling insurance. And so he connected with a partner around telemedicine. And this is before COVID happened. Telemedicine was not popular. You know, there are a few early adopters that were like, yeah, you know what? I'm busy. I don't have time. Let me seek this out. So when COVID came, as you know, then people didn't want to go out the house. People were losing their jobs, but they still needed to have that medical insurance. And so what they did was combine forces and brought me on to kind of set up that business process that, you know, those, how do we function as an entity? How do we lay things out? And so what we were able to offer, which could be offered to this group as well, because a lot of people were losing jobs, is that we have a telemedicine program that will allow you to insure up to 8 people for $24 a month. When I say up to 8 people, you can define your families the way you are. Unlike work where they're strict about, you know, mommy, daddy, babies, this says, look, if your ex-husband's sister is still sleeping on your couch, you can insure her. But it's also taking care of the community. So for $24, you have unlimited visits for telemedicine, and you can get, you know, prescription medication. So think about it. You've lost your job. They're still requiring you to pay Cobra, which we know is stupid expensive, you know, $800 or more sometimes if you're insuring a family, or if you're going through the healthcare marketplace and you're paying $200. Well, some people, good health, all they need are maybe, I'm just going to go there and say, let's say birth control prescriptions, right? So why are you paying $200 every month when you don't have a job just to get that prescription? So this telemedicine company will allow you to, then you paying $24. You got 8 people insured. That's, you know, your cousins, you know, your dog. I'm just saying, you know, that's $3 a piece, and you can still get that prescription. So again, it was a way of helping our community during the crisis, and that's how this company was born. And so what the advantage is when it comes to payroll taxes for the company is, if you don't want to just, if you don't, we have a wellness program too. So if you don't want to buy the wellness program, then you have telemedicine, which, you know, we aim at individuals or as a latch on to your major medical if you are working, right? Well, with the wellness program saves the company FICA payroll dollars. There are some tax provisions out there that say, hey, if you have a wellness program, then the government will come in and save your, not only your FICA payroll dollars, but it will pay for this wellness program. So now you're bringing home more money in your paycheck, although you're not able to bring it in as a physical check. Now you're able to pick up some of those other things that we leave on the table, like vision, you know, care, like long-term disabilities, short-term disabilities, which could come into play for like a COVID situation or, you know, some sickness that you may have. So again, it's a way to save not only the employee the FICA payroll dollars, but it also saves the company. And the company then can put that money back into their bottom line. So again, it was a way to find a way to provide a service to our community, our Black and brown communities that were hurting. Not that we don't look at other communities, but, you know, for those that were hit hardest, this is what we came up with. So again, we got involved in something that wasn't as popular, but now it is. So it seems to be that case when I'm guided towards something and I ignore it. You hear a little about it, it's like, yeah. But then it explodes overnight. And so that's why I said that trust and that pivoting helps. So yeah, I stepped out on an advice. Somebody said, hey, you can do this yourself. I didn't know where I was going to get clients from, but we talked about LinkedIn. I'm on there all the time checking stuff. And so, you know, I put an ad out there and I was able to get some clients.
That's great. Destiny, you want to go through some of the questions, and the floor is still open to anybody else to have a question. Also, I posted some information out there for Felicia. So
Okay.
if you have any, if you're looking for a job and you know anybody looking for a job, you can go to facebook.com/careers, select any job or jobs, um, copy them down. You can send them to myself. I can put my email out there and send your resume, and I'll forward them to Felicia,
Right.
and she'll reach out to you.
Oh, and let me tell you something else about the employer referral program, which is why I'm saying come in this way. Anyone that is put into the employer referral program, they're guaranteed a phone call. You're guaranteed to
Say
get.
that. Hold on. Say that one more time.
I said, the reason why I'm stressing coming through the employer referral program at Facebook is that anyone that is referred is guaranteed a phone call from a recruiter.
Oh, I thought I heard guaranteed. That's what I thought I
It
heard.
is guaranteed, absolutely, within 3 to 5 calendar days. And what I also like is that if, let's say that you've chosen the wrong role, other companies, they would say, Ed, you chose the wrong role. That's not the right one. And they keep it moving. You know, they'll send you some notes saying, hey, you didn't make the cut for this role. But what Facebook does is they say, well, this person has talent. Maybe they picked the wrong role, but maybe there's something out there for them. So they'll set up an exploratory call with you as well, so that you can then have a conversation about yourself, what you are interested in, what you are passionate about. And they stay aligned with you for the next 90 days to, be there if other opportunities pop up. But they also recommend opportunities. And we also have what we call prep material. You haven't interviewed in a while, you've worked somewhere for a long time, or just you want to brush up on your interviewing skills. We have information out there, for prep material, so that you can interact with that and just brush up, so that you can be prepared for the interview. If you're going for a tech role, they even have coding practice. So let's say that Visual Basic is the language. Let's just say that, for example, but you didn't take Visual Basic. Well, we try to minimize bias and level the playing field. And what we end up having is a drop down of all these different possible languages, because all we want to see is that you know how to code. So you get to choose the language that you're most familiar with, go through a coding exercise, because they're going to take you through a boot camp anyway. When you come on board, they do a really good job of onboarding you. It's very laid out, very methodical, and very intentional. So there's a lot of things that they do. So don't ever think that you're not good enough. Just know that I'm here and that Ed is a conduit for getting your information to me. And we're ready to start this process.
I saw a question from AJ a little while ago. AJ, if you're still out there and you want to come off mute, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to ask, by the way, first off, thank you for taking the time to come speak to the group and the family.
Absolutely.
Great information being released, like they say on Clubhouse, gems being dropped. But you mentioned it a little bit earlier, and I just wanted to kind of get a little bit deeper explanation for some of those who it might benefit. But the Facebook Elevate scholarships, if you could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I don't know all of the details about those scholarships. I can get that information and bring it back to the group, because I don't want this to be the only time that I'll come. But I do know that there are a lot of scholarships out there, and there's even more money being poured into all of our scholarship funds to target underrepresented people and to bring them into the company. So unfortunately, I'm not as versed, but I do know that different scholarships exist. And what I'll do is I'll take that particular scholarship and then go get the information and send it to Ed so he can disperse back out to the group. But I do know that, Facebook is looking for us, and they have scholarships, mentorships, rotational programs, everything out there for us to join this company. Now, if you have a little bit more information, if you want to provide it to this platform, that would be great. And like I said, I'll go out and, do my research with my team and get more information so that I can bring back to the group, how you can apply, how, or what are the qualifications, so forth and so on.
So I only have limited information as well, but I know, exactly like you said, that Facebook is looking specifically for the underrepresented groups, and I know right now they are the one that I specifically looked out for. I think they are giving certain certifications that automatically would qualify you to be hired by Facebook, and then also by putting that on your resume, you are attractive to a myriad of other companies because you are certified by Facebook. The one that I was looking at I think is digital marketing certification. And the only qualification that you actually have to have is to be Black. That's it.
Yep.
There is no other qualification. Simply, you have to be Black, and you apply for it. They give you a voucher to go and redeem to sign up for the course. You take the exam. Once you take the exam and you pass, Facebook gives you a certification, which is, like you said, today it's the equivalent of almost like a degree now, especially when it comes to the tech world. So
yes. And one of the reasons why they're doing things like that too, I told you, Mark doesn't even have a scholarship. Have a degree, but they're saying if you can do the work, then you have a place here. And a lot of times they are providing you that prep material. They are trying to level the playing field. And, we get questions all the time like, well, why not me? Why not, why are you looking for white people? Isn't that discrimination? And I'll tell you the best answer that I was given at Facebook. And it said, no, it's not that we're not considering others. It is that we are trying to level the playing field. So right now there's not a minority for whites and there's not a minority for Asians, but there's a minority for everyone else. So we want to raise everyone else up to become a part of the majority as well. So having said that, they're looking for Black, women, Latino, Native American. They even have a category for 2 or more races, people with disabilities, veterans. We're looking for moms who need to return to work. We're looking for Asian Pacific Islanders. If you are not white or Asian, then we're looking for you. I'm not saying they're not considering whites or Asians. I'm just saying that there's a hyper focus on all of these represented different, ethnicities. And so to your point, don't have to have a degree in this area. A lot of times these certifications only take a few months, if that. So go get that certification. I know the other young ladies say, well, if I'm stagnant, what can I do? Go out there and research some of these courses. And like I said, I'll take the action of going and finding the exact link so that I can provide the ed. So you can see a list of all of those courses, but go take those courses while, you have your spare time, while you are working on your lunch break, and prepare yourself for a career at Facebook. So that's exactly what's going to happen. They're going to pick you up.
Family, is there anybody else out there that would like to come off mute, say something to Felicia? First of all, drop some 111s in the chat for me. Let her know that this time has been valuable. We certainly appreciate it. Matter of fact, come off mute. Let her hear your voices. Let her hear you say thank you. Let her feel some of the energy that we have here at Global FX Trade Club.
Oh, this has been absolutely valuable. Thank you so much for your time. Great information. Thank you. Especially, I'm sitting here and I was mopping my kitchen floor and I'm listening to you and I'm just like, you know what? Just to hear from an African-American woman, you know what I mean? And just hearing your story, I'm like, my God, yes. So thank you for your story and thank you for your time again.
You're quite welcome. My pleasure. And how many people are, because I'm going back to Facebook tomorrow again. Facebook is probably one of the most unorthodox good companies that I've ever worked for. And I've worked for some really good companies. I want to go back and say, hey, when I talked about earlier that they were saying, who do you know? What's your network? I want to go back and say, hey, I have 50 people that I spoke to last night. So that's 50 potential people that are going to come through our employer referral program. They're going to jump over the moon with that. So again,
that number is about correct tonight. Yep. You hit about 50. So
look, don't laugh. I don't have my reading glasses on. So like some
right now we're at 39. So okay. you hit up there. But like Destrian said, definitely come off mute. We're gonna keep it for another 2 minutes or so. But definitely you might not have seen the chat. You had a whole bunch of ones in there. So somebody came off mute. Go ahead. Uh-oh.
Oh.
Hi, Felicia.
Hi.
Hi, my name is Stacy. Thank you so much. This was truly amazing. I'm so thankful for you.
Doesn't matter. Can we mute Carlisa, please?
I'm trying to. If I can find her. There we go.
Okay. So since we're a trading group, I had kind of maybe a fun question to ask you was what are the stock benefits like at Facebook?
They are Amazing. I'll just keep it 100. Like I told Ed, when I went to when I got to Facebook, I was like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna get this cash bonus. You know, I was used to getting those cash bonuses, but they were like, well, you know, we're not gonna give a cash bonus. I'm thinking, really? But they came with $140,000 in Facebook stock. That was my bonus. Well, way over you know, $20,000 is usually what I would get as a signing bonus, but they gave me $140,000 in Facebook stock as my sign on. And everybody gets stock at Facebook when they come to Facebook.
Wow. I'm a teacher,
And
so I don't even know what a bonus looks like. That's amazing. Thank you.
yeah, but just having the stock, it's not even about just the money. And I told Ed this. I said, Ed, if you come to work for Facebook, and I was just talking to him in general, and preparing to talk to you guys. I said, you know, your life is gonna immediately change, and then your immediate family's life is gonna change. But what I like is kind of like what you guys are being set up for here, through success with this program that you guys, this family that you guys are part of. The stocks are things that for generations to come, if you leave it there and let it mature, for generations to come, your money is making money for you. So I feel like while you are working, your money is making money for you. And your kids, your grandkids, their kids will be fine in the future. So I think of Facebook as providing a way for me to live today, and also, you know, creating this generational wealth also along with what you guys are trying to do, which I applaud, because a lot of times, you know, and often we're left out on this investment front, and we are trying to learn, you know, the nuances and incorporate those things into our lives. And so again, while my initial thought was, oh, bummer, I'm not going to get this bonus, I was like, but I get these stocks and this money is going to, you know, continue to grow. Yeah, you might hit a lull here and there, but at the end of the day, you're still making money while you sleep.
That's excellent. Anybody else like to come off before we close out?
Hi, Felicia. My name is TK. I just wanted to thank you so much for coming and giving your time and your energy and letting us know all of this information. It was very useful. It was very informative. And I'm first generation in New York. My family is definitely from Alabama on both sides. So
Ooh, ooh.
your success, to see you be so vibrant and energetic and just trying to do so much for the community is inspiring.
Well, thank you so very much. I appreciate that. I spent a lot of time in New York, but when I was doing my internships, I was in New Jersey, but I went to New York on the train every weekend. So I loved New York. So
Yeah, I'm in Buffalo. They do that a lot. I'm New
yeah.
York State,
Oh,
not
you
New Jersey.
yeah, you went to Niagara Falls.
Yes, yes.
Well, definitely. Destrian?
I see my wife has come off mute. You got
Okay.
something, Felicia?
Yeah, I wanted to ask one more question. It's a personal question too. Miss Felicia, how do you balance everything, like being a mom, with your responsibilities, community outreach, and work? How do you balance it all? Just
Well,
curious.
fortunately, Facebook really does care about you. They care about your family and your mental health. They say it all of the time. So by working from home, because I forgot to mention that we also have a strategy where we want half of our population to be working from home by 2025. And that equates right now to 30,000 people, which is why now a lot of the roles are remote. So by them allowing me to work at home, I work on my own. I still work on the Eastern time zone, although Facebook's, you know, is based. One of the headquarters is based out of California. So literally, when I get up every morning, it's usually pretty quiet. I probably don't have my first meeting till around like 11. They also put what they call me time in your schedule, and they tell you this time is for you. You move that time throughout the day, not lunch. This is in addition to lunch. You move that time throughout the day for something that you want to do. They want you to stay energized and motivated. And anytime you're going through a rough patch or, you just can't do it, you open up that invite and they have all these different motivational things or ideas for you to, bring it down a notch, go take a nap or whatever. So because of them, it really centers everything for me. So my daughter goes off to school. I have that time in the morning before, most of the rest of the world, Facebook comes online. And then, we'll have meetings throughout the day. If you don't make a meeting, nobody is tripping. Nobody is saying Felicia wasn't on that meeting. They was like, oh, she has something else to do. So you really are the manager of your own time. They're not micromanagers. That's not the culture there at all. And then not having to drive gives me so much time back. I mean, again,
Amen.
Atlanta was crazy. I used to have to drive on one side, drop my daughter off, and then go to work. I just roll out the bed. I get a chance to sit and have breakfast with her. She goes off to school. I have time for myself. I go jog or whatever. I watch I catch up on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. Don't laugh, but that's my show.
Yes, mine too. Guilty pleasure.
And so then I do my work, and then 5 o'clock I'm off. Or if I don't have any meetings for the rest of the day, I'm off. But then they also have this thing where they used to have called no meetings on Wednesdays. So if you have a meeting on Wednesdays, there's very few, and you may have one on Friday or none at all. So it plays well into all of the things that I have to balance, and just not having that stress now like I used to have. It just makes for a peaceful time. So I would never leave Facebook. They had to kick me out. They got to drag me out. They got to say goodbye and shut down the company because I'm knocking on the front door. But they give you a lot of time to just, refuel and reinvigorate yourself so that you can show up. And so it absolutely helps, because I used to juggle a lot of balls, and this is probably the smoothest ride that I've had.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Insightful.
I don't see anybody else that has their mic open, but you did answer, I think, one question about going virtual, and it's something they plan. They're going to continue to do. It's not changing. It's not going to go back.
Oh
now
no,
that
no. There is a plan for 50% of our population to be virtual by 2025, and that's 30. That's place to 30,000 people.
That was a question in the chat from earlier that we missed, but I'm gonna say thank you. I mean, I don't know what else. Like I said, I still got chill bumps. I'm overwhelmed with it, and I've known her for over 20 years, and I think I've learned more tonight about her and than I've in 20 years. So I definitely appreciate you. I love you. So anybody that will extend their house to you, open their door to you, leave you in their house, you gotta love them. So.
Hey, the community. I'm here for the community, whatever I can provide to help. That's what I want to do. I hope that you have been motivated. This is called Motivational Monday. So I hope that you have been motivated. I would love to come back. Like I said, I have a task of following up about that scholarship. And, just reach out anytime. If there's a question that came up after this, that's fine. I'll address those, but I would love to come back and bring more information to the group. So if you have me, I'm inviting myself back.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We certainly, as Cousin Ed said, we certainly appreciate it. We talk about being valuable to the group. And so one of the things we want to do, Cousin Ed and I, we are certainly opening and extending our networks, and we encourage the rest of the group to do the same. If there's someone in your network, let's make sure that we're sharing. We really appreciate your time. We know it's valuable. But I am very proud that you're from the great state of Alabama. Your journey is amazing. You could have let the Auburn stuff slide, but the
Alabama State stuff too.
The Alabama State stuff too. I knew you were coming, AJ.
You got two Tuskegee men on the phone.
But it is
what I say about that. if they had paid for my scholarship,
Exactly.
a Tuskegee woman as well.
Exactly.
Where the full ride came from, and I rode it till the wheels fall off.
And that's exactly what you're supposed to do. But we appreciate you. And again, if there's something that we can do as a group to be additive to your works, please let us know. We will certainly not be shy about asking you back. So on behalf of Global FX Trade Club, I want to thank you for your time tonight. Thank you for what you're doing in the broader community. Thank you for the work that you're doing to change the face of corporate America so that there is better representation. And thank you for being a strong Black woman. Being out front is an honor. Before we close, Cousin Ed, if James and or Dunny is on, I would like to offer them the opportunity to say something to Miss Felicia.
Definitely.
Hi, this is Donnie. Can you hear me?
Hi, Donnie. Yes, I
Loud
can
and
hear.
clear.
I typed it in the chat again. Miss Felicia, thank you so much for coming on and addressing our Global FX Trade Club family. This has been so inspiring, motivating, definitely motivational Mondays, right? I mean, it hit everything that we really have desired for it to do. And family, I hope that you got a lot from it as well. Again, thank you so much. Thank you, Cousin Ed. Thank you, Destrian, for your leading. We really do appreciate you. I mean, I got so many notes. I can't wait to go back. I get a chance to actually edit this, so I get a chance to watch it again and edit it. But oh my goodness, thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, and I would certainly echo all of what Donnie just said. Definitely a pleasure to meet you. So inspiring. I love your story. I love your journey. And I just hope our community also appreciates the information that you heard tonight and take something away, even if it's just a nugget, just to get a little bit of edge that get 1% better. But I love your story. Definitely appreciate you spending your time with our community. We can't thank you enough.
You're quite welcome. It's my pleasure.
Back to you, Cousin Ed.
All right. On that note, guys and gals, we appreciate each and every one of y'all. We just pray that we giving back to y'all. We want it to be more than just a community about trading. We want to be a community that we give back to our own community. And hopefully tonight, we did that. So if y'all have any questions for Felicia, please definitely hit me up and I'll put you in contact. Also, if you have any questions for myself or Destrian, we are here for you. So definitely reach out to us. But this is what we're going to do. We're going to definitely, we're here, we're standing in front of you for this reason, to make sure that we fill in the gaps that, we have in our community. So on that note, we'd like to end it, and we appreciate each and every one of y'all. We love y'all, and there's nothing y'all can do about it.
Good night.
Good night, guys.